Now, time to turn our attention to the newspapers once again. Here with me to review them this morning are the broadcaster and journalist Badisha Mamata and editor at Spike, Tom Slater. So welcome back to both of you. And we've kind of managed to dispatch the front pages fairly neatly last hour. So let's delve inside, shall we? And we're kicking off, Badisha, with an article in The Guardian that you've spotted, talking about one council being the first to try a 4-day week. So why are they doing this?
They are trialling something that, in fact, lots and lots of private companies have been doing in one form or another since the beginning of the pandemic. But what's crucial here is that this is a local council. It's South Cambridgeshire District Council. Now, they're taking a vote on it and they are trying a pilot. So 470 desk-based employees, they say, are going to be voting on whether or not they have a 4-day week, which boils down to around 30 hours. I think that this makes a huge amount of sense. Now, they haven't tried it out with services such as bin collections because that would be hugely demanding on the workers themselves. It would be trying to get them to do the same amount of work in less time. And that's not the point of this pilot. The pilot is to see if, at the end of the day, when we work a 5-day week, are we really basically wasting that last day or the Wednesday slump or the Friday day before the weekend day? I think that's clearly, obviously true. I think that follows common sense that everyone who's worked in an office, whether they work for the local council or not, knows how much time is squandered. Not one entire day, but the number of hours that you lose in chatting back and forth. And when you're in office life, writing an email takes 3 times as long. So I think this is a very good common sense move, and it really adds to people's quality of life, their balance of family time, their other responsibilities, the idea that work and presenteeism aren't absolutely everything. Getting the job done is everything.
Fascinating. Very quick thought on this, Tom. I mean, we've heard a lot about UK's low productivity. What do you make of a 4-day week idea?
Well, these things obviously do have to depend on a level of productivity being saved. Although I am kind of fascinated how, when we have discussions around 4-day weeks or shifts towards working from home, things that benefit, we're only ever really talking about white-collar workers, all of this. I find quite interesting. There's, whilst people often on the kind of lowest paid jobs, their conditions are really quite dreadful. So I find that focus that we seem to have in recent years quite interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Anyway, let's move on to the story that you wanted to talk about, and this is inside the Telegraph, and it was yesterday's breach of security at the House of Commons.
Yes, so Extinction Rebellion, who sort of everyone's favourite eco-extremist Amdram group, they broke into the House of Commons effectively. 5 of them posed as being on a tour, and then they glued themselves in and around the Speaker's chair. There were also a number of them who bike-locked themselves to the gates outside Parliament. It's obviously raised fresh concerns around security. It was only back in December that someone managed to get onto the parliamentary estate just by climbing over the fence, effectively. But I think it also has just brought Extinction Rebellion back into the news. They're claiming that what they want is more democracy, which I think is kind of ridiculous. I mean, they're standing in the House of Parliament. If they want to stand for Parliament, they can do that. They've got this idea of these citizens' assemblies, which, as far as I can understand it, is essentially already having the predetermined destination in view and just asking a handful of people spoke to by hand-picked experts how we should get there, rather than having a proper democratic debate. If they want to throw it out to the people, have a referendum, agitate for a referendum on these crazy ideas that they have. But I think this idea that they're there to give voice to the people, a little hard to stomach, not least when they're there disrupting what is supposed to be our citizens' assembly in this country.
Badisha, what do you make of this? I mean, obviously there are questions over security of how they got in, but what about their methods? They might say, we really need to drive this to the top of the agenda. They might say the leadership battle, for example, that the issue of climate change didn't come up very much, and we want a proper discussion about it. Do you think they're going the right way about that, or what do you make of it?
I feel extremely wary about their tactics, even though I absolutely share that sense of climate emergency and climate peril. I am very struck every time these activists come in and they glue themselves to things. They're gluing themselves to paintings and artworks or breaking into the Houses of Commons. It makes me think of who is employed to unglue them, who is employed to put back broken windows or sweep up rubbish or literally clean up in the aftermath of these protesters, because I can bet you it's a cleaner, it's someone who is on maybe a minimum hour's wage, one of these open contracts with very few rights of themselves. They have to show up for a 10-hour shift every morning. They have a raft of work and tasks that they have to do. And when they unglue people, that's in addition to all the other tasks that they have to do in the same amount of time. So the sheer unthinking entitlement and privilege of that is really outrageous. If you break a window or you glue yourself to something in a huge institution, the head of the institution who's on a £300,000 salary isn't the guy in the suit that's going to unglue you. It's the person at the very bottom of the hierarchy. And to not think about that, think about what that person, the cleaner, the janitor, the support worker, what they look like, what's their colour, what's their age. It's really outrageous to not think about those things.
Okay, let's move on, Tom. There's a story in the Daily Mail about the impact of higher energy bills on pubs. So what are they saying there?
So this is a warning from the British Chambers of Commerce that up to 2/3 of pubs could close as a result of this energy crisis. Of course, as we all know, the energy price cap, it doesn't even protect hospitality venues, doesn't even protect businesses. And as a consequence of this, you've been seeing all of these stories of them being issued with insane energy bills. I mean, there's one example doing the rounds from TV chef Tom Kerridge. He owns a few pubs, one of which their annual energy bill used to be £60,000. He's now been quoted £420,000. I mean, this is something that many businesses wouldn't be able to put up with in the best of times. But also, if you think about what hospitality has gone through, not just with lockdown and the pandemic, but also a kind of steady kind of decline as a result of things like the smoking ban, higher regulation, and also just a general trend away from pubs. Even before this crisis hit, we'd hit the lowest number of pubs on record ever at just under 40,000, and now they're being hit by this unimaginable crisis. So, you know, we could really be in a situation where at the end of this winter, a very significant proportion of places that many people go, not just to drink, but to socialise, hearts of communities, all those platitudes are true in many respects, as a result of this energy crisis, if nothing is done.
Yeah, there's so many concerns, aren't there? Tom and Badisha, I'll see you again next hour. Thank you.